Hi, Ria. Is that Ria?
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right. So we're waiting on Jonathan now.
No
So,
problem.
Lottie, Louisa, did you have any opening words before we kick off?
Ladi?
Yes. Well, I guess I'll do the welcome, and then Louisa, you will say a prayer for us. Good evening, everyone. It's really my pleasure to have every one of you distinguished entrepreneurs on this session with us today. This is a session that we have looked forward to simply because we believe that it is really useful. It is valuable for us to do what we are doing today, to look at our businesses, even look at our businesses from a deeper perspective. I know we would have been doing a lot of things since the COVID, and this is not necessarily just all about the COVID. It's really those important aspects that we probably need to be paying attention to in our businesses. We know you have been doing quite a lot of that in recent times. It is our prayer that, being in this event, in these sessions, you'll be able to glean some additional insights into things that are really, really important in terms of thriving sustainably, especially in the context that we are in today. It is also a pleasure to have David, facilitating this session, supported by Eric. These are two persons who, we thank God that we have the opportunity to have encountered and be blessed with their wisdom, be blessed with their experience in terms of strengthening businesses around the world. And we are really excited about what they have to offer us this evening. This session is being facilitated by them. We also have, of course, this is by the grace also of God, as well as our partners worldwide. And we are very pleased to have with us Louisa, who is the Regional Partnership Director for the Caribbean. And of course, she oversees Trinidad and Tobago as part of her portfolio. And she is here with us. Louisa is also a very, very strong advocate of successful small businesses. And I'm very sure that you will be encountering some aspects of that in this session. So thank you all very much for coming. We have some very strong businesses among us today. Hopefully we'll get to hear more about you as we go along in this workshop, right? So I want to say welcome on behalf of the Network of Christians in Business. Now, this is not about us today, it's about you, it's about your business. So another time we'll talk some more, although all of you are familiar with the Network of Christians in Business. And of course, because we're a faith-based organization, we know that you will not mind if we start off with a prayer to invite the presence and the wisdom of God with us. So I want to ask Louisa to do the the prayer for us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ladi. And please join me with this prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we want to thank you for this opportunity today to join together from different parts of the world to gain expertise, to have wisdom imparted by our panelists today. Dear Father, we please ask you to bring angels to Trinidad and Tobago and Nicaragua and United States. We want to thank you for the expertise and experience that David and Eric will share with us today. We also, dear Father, we want you to bless every single person in this meeting and also bless their businesses. I know we're going through a difficult situation, but it's only with you that we're going to be able to see successful and see victory at the end of these difficult times. Dear Father, we ask you to open our minds and we ask you to open our hearts to be able to understand and apply all the knowledge that David and Eric will share with us today. Dear Father, we pray in the name of your Son Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. So just very quickly again, before I hand over to David, it's our culture to talk about the facilitators and then also, but we saw that we have just this short time because of the fact that we use Zoom and we cannot spend too much time on Zoom. So we had, all of you would have received information about our facilitators today. So you have information about their background, you have information about the company that they are running, Emerge Dynamics. All right, so we will just skip over that. All right, thank you very much. Over to you, David.
Great. Thanks, Lottie. Thanks, Louisa. Hello, everyone. Welcome. So glad to be here. Here we are today, and we're going to be talking about pivoting your business model to thrive sustainably in today's context. I am David Cusimano, and I'm here along with Eric Wingerter. Eric, do you want to wave? I guess everyone can see your name there, but there he is right there. He and I, as Lottie said, work at Emerge Dynamics, and we will be facilitating the presentation here today, the workshop. So let me talk about, I'm sorry, let me get to my slide. There we are. So what we do at Emerge Dynamics, I know you had our bios before, but essentially we live and breathe a mission. And our mission is to improve the lives of business owners and their employees all around the world by helping them essentially reach their fullest potential, become the best versions of themselves. That's not only the business owners, that's also their employees, all of their stakeholders. So we believe that around the world, there are tens or hundreds of thousands of small businesses that have the opportunity to excel far beyond where they are. And with the right coaching, with the right training, with the right thought processes, they can easily be developed to become at their full God-given potential, to flourish, to become everything that they were made to be, and also to do that for all of their stakeholders, all of their families, everyone involved with their organizations. You can see our businesses do this by, I'm not going to read that, but that's our unique way that we help businesses do these things. And one of the ways that we live this is exactly at this presentation right now. So the things that we're going to be talking about are things that we live and breathe every day, that we work with clients on a regular basis on. And so what we're going to be doing today is taking you through a version of our strategic planning. And we're going to be taking you through certain pieces of it. And so we want to show you a little bit about what that's going to be all about. Really important though, before we get any deeper, is let's get interactive. And what do I mean by that? All of the knowledge that we have, me, Eric, Lottie, Louisa, I think we have a lot of fantastic experience. I think we have a lot of value that we can share. But I would estimate, just because we've done this before, if all you did was listen to us, you might get 50 to 60% of the value that you could get in this time together here with us. There are business owners in this workshop. There are very good business owners in this workshop, and there are people who've done amazing things in this workshop. At least half of the value that can be gotten out of this workshop is going to come from the other people in the workshop. And so it's really important. I think if you don't say anything and you sit there and listen these next 2 nights, you'll get your money's worth. It'll be a great event, and you'll get your money's worth. You'll feel like you got a lot of value. But if you participate, if you're willing to share, if you're willing to, I guess, be vulnerable a little bit and participate with us in the exercises, I think you're going to find the value that you're going to find tremendous. So please own your own experience, take advantage of this experience, and really really maximize the value out of it. Similarly, as we're going along, please put hands up. Please ask questions. This is not a lecture. You're going to see there's going to be exercises. There's going to be questions. So before we go any deeper, let's just make sure everyone knows how to do that. Can everyone put their hand up, please? There should be a button somewhere in your console that says raise hand. Let's just make sure everyone can do it. Everyone's here with us. Very good. 3 more. Jonathan, Nicole, Rhea. There we are. Nicole, Joshua. Joshua, you're the last one.
I'm not seeing my
There he is, hands up, great. I think we've got
Okay.
100%, excellent, okay. So good, okay, welcome, glad everyone's working. So you can put your hands down now. Lest I think you have a question. So let's go to our rhythm here. Here's how it's gonna work. Here's our vision here. We're gonna kick off being very strategic, and we're gonna start with some high level things. We've got some thought exercises for you that I think are gonna really help you reflect on your business. This is an important time to not work in your business. It's really important here, turn the cell phone off, turn the email off. With very few exceptions, your business will not die if you're not there for the next 2 hours. So, and if that really is the case, then we've got some serious talking to do about your business. So please shut it down. Let's take this time to work on the business. And so we'll start high level, we'll start strategic, and then we're going to get a little bit more granular. We're going to put some frameworks around what things we're seeing in the market. And we're going to finish the day with some specific exercises on your business. Tomorrow, day 2, well, actually, before I go too far ahead of myself, you're going to leave today with some reflection things. Tomorrow, day 2, we're going to talk about that reflection. We're going to get a little bit more granular. We're going to talk about a little bit more about crisis management. And we're really going to focus on setting smart goals and execution, how to go from strategy to action. And so that we can send you off after the end of day 2 tomorrow, armed with a plan, armed with some action that you can take into your business and implement immediately. So just some ground rules here. If you could please mute when you're not talking. I see everyone has done that, so thank you. That is very important. With the number of people on this call, if even one of us has a kid in the background, a dog, whatever noise, it's going to distract us all. So please, that's a good courtesy for all of us. Just mute when you're not talking. When you have a question, put your hand up. Please do it often. Every time you have a question, put your hand up. Want to hear from you, want to make it interactive, want to talk. It may take me a minute or two to get to your hand. So I probably see it, and I'm probably just finishing a thought or finishing a line of reasoning, and then I will get to your hand. So if I don't get to you right away, just stand by. After a minute or two, we'll get to you. I have told Eric and Louisa to please watch. If it seems like I'm going from one topic to the next and I didn't answer your question, they're going to interrupt me and help me understand that I've missed a hand. So that's what we'll do there. There's also the concept of the parking lot. I think it's important to introduce now. Because we're going to be interactive, because we're going to be having discussions, because we're human beings, we get excited, we're going to go on tangents sometimes. It's going to be my role as a facilitator when we start going on tangents to bring us back to the topic at hand. I may do that because we went off tangent. I may also do that because you brought up something that's really, really important. And I know that we're getting ready to get to it because I know the order of what we're getting ready to do. I know we're getting ready to get to it in 10 or 15 minutes. So I may tell you, let's put that in the parking lot and let's come back to it. I'm not telling you, I don't want that to be misinterpreted as me saying, hey, the thing you're saying is not important or not valid. In fact, it's probably the case that it is so important and so valid that I want to give it its proper time and its proper place. At the end of the day, if we have not cleared out parking lot items, we're going to have some time at the end of the day to go through and see what's in the parking lot, clear them out. I can't promise we're going to answer every single question that everyone has in their business, but we're going to do as much as we can to get through it all. Eric's task is going to be to, as we're going through things, if I say, let's put this in the parking lot, he's going to go ahead and notate that for us, come back to it at the end. Also, please make sure you have a way to take notes. You should have gotten a workbook sent out maybe an hour before, 45 minutes before we started here. It's a PDF. You can print that out, or you can just have that up on your screen and you can have a piece of paper next to you. But starting in a few minutes, you're going to need to start writing something. You can type it on your screen. You can write it over the piece of paper and a pencil. Doesn't matter to me, but just make sure you're ready to do that. If not, this would be the time to go ahead and get prepared, because in a few minutes, like I said, you are going to need to start writing. Some of the things we're going to go through are going to be very detailed, and you're going to have an exercise that you're going to work through to completion tonight. Other exercises you'll be worked through to completion by the end of tomorrow. Other exercises we're going to kick you off on, and they're going to be thought exercises that you're going to need to think about after the fact, reflect on, and refine after the fact. So I want to set the expectation that while we have 4 hours together, and that's a lot of time, and we can get a lot done, create a lot of value, that's really a time where there's still going to need to be some more reflection on your part. Highly recommend after we're done here, going through this with your team, going through this with a business coach, going through this with Lottie at NCB, and some follow-on appointments. These are all things that I think you're going to really benefit from after we go on. You are going to need to reflect on this material afterward. Please don't shut down 2 hours from now and not think about this till tomorrow. You're going to have some things you're going to need to go talk about with your spouse, with your employees, with your team. You're going to need to bring these things home, really let them gel, really reflect on them. And then tomorrow when we regroup, we're going to want to hear how that went. So please keep that in mind. Also, you're going to see references to a thing called Value Builder System. We have partnered with a group called the Value Builder System. Us at Emerge Dynamics have done that, and also the folks at NCB have done that. It's a fantastic system for really helping business owners see a path toward increasing the value of their business and having some actionable plans. So as we're going through this, you're going to see a lot of the content that we have is our original content. We're also going to incorporate a lot of content from the Value Builder System. So there are 8 value drivers in the Value Builder System that we've identified are really things that help a business grow and drive value. We're going to cover 3, maybe 4 of them in the next couple of days. So you'll see that as we go through. And finally, this is all about you. This is your growth plan. I'm going to show you some examples of other businesses, but as much as possible, we want to bring your material, your thoughts, and we want to have you come out of here with a plan that you can use to really start to put into place right away. And is that a question, Lottie, or comment? You're on mute, Lottie.
No, it's not a question, David, sorry.
No problem. Okay, all right. So let's, how's that sound for our plan here for a time together? Does that sound good? Can I get a, what are your options? Can I get a hands up if that sounds good?
Can you repeat, please?
Yes, can I get a hands up if that sounds like a good plan, what I just talked about? All right, we got at least a majority. All right, very good, very good. Okay, let's kick off. And I guess for anyone who maybe did not put their hand up, this would be a good time. Let's kick off and let's frame this around you and what you're seeing out there right now. So here's our first discussion. And I really want to hear from at least a few people. We've definitely been in communication with Lottie. We've heard about some current events, kind of the status of things in Trinidad and Tobago. Obviously, we know what's going on in the world. We know what's going on in the United States, but I want to make sure we frame this around you as well. So what are you seeing out there? What are you experiencing, and what are your most critical needs? Who can kick us off with some contributions on that?
Hi, I could say, no, it's Ria.
Oh, Ria, okay, go ahead.
Yes. Sales have been pretty slow. My business is haberdashery and repairs, so it's a little bit of everything, and we're into repairs. But sales have been down, really low, and things have been pretty slow. We had, yeah.
And Ria, would you say, is that specific to your business, or is that would you say that's a comment in general about everyone in your sector?
I think it's business in general in Tobago. I'm in Tobago. I'm in the smaller island of the Trinidad and Tobago,
Okay.
and it's been pretty slow all around. After 2 p.m. things where we are is that's it. There's nobody coming in. There's nobody passing by. Things, it's that's how it's become.
Gotcha. Thanks for sharing.
I think it's general. Yeah.
Yes. And Madonna, since you have a hand up, how about you?
Great. Thanks for asking. What am I seeing out there? Well, Before COVID, the core function was training, because we do consulting in communication, and the core aspect of the consulting was training. But training is one of those line items that are immediately cut when there's a challenge. So we experienced, absolutely nothing. What was really divine was I was in the midst of a huge contract, and while there was a pause, they continued. And what was really fascinating and really divine, we had prepared to, before the lockdown, we had designed it in a modular fashion with the possibility that it could be done online.
Wow.
So when the client resumed, we had already had a modular design, and it went straight online. What we're
Fantastic.
seeing
Very
there,
fortuitous.
yes, that was really divine. In respect of training, people are yearning. There's a dynamic that is going on. People yearn. When I say people, I'm in touch with just a few of the clients, and there is a desire for face-to-face engagement.
Yeah.
They're really missing the human interaction. But training as an important component, they don't want to hear the word training at all. So I'm looking at, they're more receptive to the term coaching. So
Yes.
those are the kinds of dynamics that are in play. How do
Yes.
you respond to the need for face-to-face human interaction?
Very
Don't call
good.
it training, and the new priorities of the space. And so that's what is happening with me now.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing. Okay, I'm making some notes because I want to come back to some of the things you said. That's going to be pretty applicable to what we're going to talk about in a few minutes. Let's go to Academy of Auto Mechanics. Can you remind me your name?
My name is Roy.
Hi, Roy. Welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you?
Yes. Well, I think I can work with something that has more solid foundation, but we have a lot of uncertainties. I think that's my key word there, uncertainties. It's how do we move forward in uncertainties and conspiracies and all of these things, you can plan and so on. You can make some steps that you think are positive, but then the business owner being uncertain and the clientele being uncertain, I think that would be my biggest challenge.
Very good. Okay. So clientele being uncertain, I guess, and that being that you're not sure if they're going to show up, or I guess they're uncertain about if they need your service anymore, or what would you say about that?
Uncertain as it relates to the environment, as
Okay.
what will the government do? What will things get worse? That kind of uncertainty.
Will we get shut down? Will we be allowed to operate? Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for sharing. Let's do two more. We've got Brent and then Joshua. Go ahead, Brent.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. I think I have two critical needs at the moment, transitioning online. And I began transitioning before the pandemic in terms of advertising products and services online, as well as the timely delivery and accessibility of products.
Okay. And accessibility of products, does that mean it's a challenge sourcing?
Not necessarily sourcing, but I think in Trinidad, in our customs division, there's a bit of delay in accessing products that we would have brought in.
Okay, so you have trouble getting them through the border.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. And what kind of business is it, Brent?
Alternative health. So I run a clinic.
Yes. Okay. Gotcha. Understood. Okay. Thanks for sharing. And I thought there was another hand up and it's not there anymore. Was there one more?
think it was Joshua.
Joshua, okay, Joshua, go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. For me, I guess I have 2 points. One, I would say my greatest need is balancing between working and building my brand while trying to meet the needs of my clients. And for our business, who we do consultancy, especially with social media, marketing, and website design, we saw some increase in opportunities with some of our especially as it relates to website design, since we had few clients that would have wanted now to move their business online, to introduce e-commerce into their business and so on. So what we found ourselves doing is spending a lot of time working on clients, and we started the year with a strong content strategy to create valuable content for our niche, and that became very challenging. Like where do you fit between working on your business while this? I would say that's probably one of our biggest challenge.
Great. That sounds like a challenge that's transcends COVID. That challenge is there before and after COVID. Yeah. So, and it's one I can relate to personally, absolutely. So yes, we'll definitely talk about that. Thank you. Thanks for sharing. Okay, let's move on to a thought exercise here to kick us off. I think we're getting a good lay of the land, and I'm sure for the folks we haven't heard from yet, we're going to hear from them soon with some things. But let's go ahead, and here's where you're going to need your workbook. Because everything we do revolves around the purpose, revolves around the why we do it. And we could take some time and go pretty deep here and use our entire evening together only on this. And maybe sometime in the future, we will. For today, let's lay the framework. It's tricky because a lot of the business owners we meet only think of themselves in terms of, oh, I'm a plumber, I'm a carpenter, I'm a this, or I'm a that. Instead of really thinking about, I'm playing a role in this interconnected market, which really today, in almost everything we do, it's going to cross a border somehow. We're going to source something from outside the country. We're going to sell something outside it's an interconnected world at this point. And we all play our role. We all play our parts in building this community, this world community, into what it can and should be. And so let's kick off. And so if you have your workbook, this is the first exercise. I want you to take some time and fill in this blank here. If my organization didn't exist, the world would be worse off because blank. I want you to fill that in. And before you start writing, let me just qualify this a little bit. We're not looking for an answer here which is related to some charitable use that you could do with your profits. So if you were to say, my business takes 50% of our profits and gives it to children in the slums so they can have dinner, I would say that's a very good thing. And it's great that you're doing that. I don't want to detract from that. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about the actual operation of your business. When your people show up in the morning and start running the business, what's happening that's making the world better off because you did that? And what would be worse if you stopped doing it? Another answer that you wouldn't want to put here, because I think you'd miss a good point of the exercise, is you wouldn't want to say, if my organization didn't exist, the world would be worse off because my employees would not have a means to support their family. That is true, but that answer would be an answer for every single business on the planet. So I want you to also carve that one out too. The actual operations, the people you serve, how they serve, how would they be worse off if you didn't exist anymore? I'm going to be quiet and I'm going to set a timer for 2 minutes. Take time, reflect, and get something meaningful in that blank. Okay, folks, I'm back. Louisa, I turned my camera off for a second and I can't turn it back on. It's saying you cannot start your video because the host has stopped it. Are you able to turn my camera back on or allow me to turn my camera back on?
I will. Give me a second.
So I'll continue speaking and hopefully I'll get my camera back on here in a second. But I'd love to hear from everyone, but I want to make sure that we also get to cover other exercises, but I'd love to hear from at least someone. Who can share what they put there in that blank? If you could put your hand up, who can share something about what they put there in that blank?
There's Brent.
Is that Brent? Go ahead, Brent.
Yes.
We'll do Brent, then Earl. Go ahead, Brent.
Yes. If my organization did not exist, the world would be worse off because I provide affordable, effective, alternative, and customized solutions for their health needs.
And what if you didn't? What would happen?
Well, we'd have a lot of persons who would not be able to find solutions that I provide.
Yes, very good, excellent.
And Brent, how would that impact their lives?
Well, they would be frustrated, and it could even create an even worse health problem.
Very good, yes, excellent. So I think, Brent, could you see how what you just said right there, does that give you purpose? Does that give you reason for showing up in the morning?
Yes, it does.
Excellent, great to hear. Thanks for sharing. Let's go to Earl and then Catherine after that. Go ahead, Earl.
Yeah. If my organization didn't, the business I'm talking about is a recent business I started. If my organization didn't exist, the world would be worse off because the children we serve will not have the opportunity to be schooled in a spiritual Christian environment.
Very nice.
Let me give some context here.
Yeah.
I was affiliated with another school, but I wasn't the owner of that school, and the owner closed down because of COVID-19. And a parent called me. We have a high proportion of children. It's just mind-boggling. One of our children, his father was gunned down in front of him. So when she told him that the other school was called Leviticus Academy, was closing down, he asked his mother, he says, when I came to the school, I found a father in Mr. Brown who's going to father me if there is no more any Leviticus Academy. We have a percentage of students from broken homes and stuff like that, and you know, so my wife keeps telling me that our school is not about just the curriculum; it's about building lives for the kingdom.
Wonderful. Thanks for sharing. That's definitely very purposeful. Thank you so much. Let's do one more. Catherine, good to talk to you again.
Hello, everyone. Hi.
Okay.
This question is, you know, just sent me to think, but to answer, if my organization did not exist, two things that came to mind. One, the farmers, the coconut estate that is functioning and processing our coconuts and soursop and giving them that encouragement to continue, they would not have the joy, or they wouldn't have, you know, the need, because there's a particular estate that depend on us, you know, to continue doing what they do, right? So that's one. And the farmers as well in Grenada who supply us with our soursop, they too, you know, those persons who go out and look for those soursop in the fields and package it and make sure that, you know, we get this soursop on a weekly basis, they will be, you know, out of sync. They will have less activity or something less to look forward to, right? That's one. I know you would have mentioned earlier that when it comes to, okay, employing people, and yes, that probably is, everyone can say that. But the difference with bees and the persons who work at bees, the 40, 30 something plus households that depend on bees for income, they would not have an employer that even though they're coming to work, they're coming to work looking forward to come to work and happy knowing that if they have an issue, they can come into a management office and be counseled, be prayed for, be listened to, and get an intervention. Besides the work issue, the employment is one thing. But having that type of atmosphere and spirit of the organization,
Right.
that, you know, that really takes the interest of the concerns and the problems that might be able to solve everything, but they know that they can come in and just sit and just share and get a listening ear and be prayed for and get encouragement. So
Right.
and if we weren't there, they would have to work for someone else who would not take their interests.
Right. Excellent. So Catherine, you're really, I mean, you're really seeing that you're helping your suppliers, you're helping your customers, you're helping your employees, a lot of purpose in all of those areas.
Yeah. So those are just the two I will keep, you know, thinking.
Yes. Thank you. And I've had Catherine's ice cream and it is really, really good. I'm so sad that I could not visit this year because of COVID, or I would have had some this year. So yes, so I think we're seeing some great examples here of business purpose, and it's important because this drives why we do what we do. This provides the reason for what we do, and this provides everything as far as our team, our recruiting, our mission that we're moving toward. So without establishing this, you know, everything else we're getting ready to talk about is going to be a little bit weaker and a little bit less valuable. I was a judge one time at a business plan competition, and the people were pitching their businesses, and one part of the pitch was the business owners had to say how they were giving back to the community. And everyone was saying, you know, I use half my profits for this, I use half my profits for that. And they were all talking about the charities that they donate to. And then a medical group got up and they talked, and the judges all said, oh, well, you are kind of a unique business because you're in medicine. And so therefore you don't have to give anything to charity because you're giving back to your community just by having your doors open because you're helping people. And I had to say, time out. Wait a second here. No. It's like, or yes, the medical business is absolutely giving to the business, to the community, making the community better. And so are all these other businesses too. It may be a little bit less apparent, but if you own a retail store and you're selling clothing, there are people out there who need clothing, and you're getting that to them in a price and in a way that they couldn't have gotten on their own. And that's why they were willing to part with their money to give that to you. Just by opening your doors. When we run businesses properly, just by opening our doors, our communities are better off. So this applies to all of us, no matter what business, no matter what industry we're in. Okay, so let's look now. I want to talk about your customer value proposition. So we're going to take what we just talked about and we're going to narrow it down now. Really important because we're going to put strategy around this, and then we're going to talk about how the market's been shifting under us. But for right now, where you see yourself today, let's talk about your customer value proposition. You may have heard about this many times. If you've been through business training programs, this may be something brand new, but I'm going to give you the format that's going to really help guide you through this. This is in your workbook, I think, exercise 2. So take 2 minutes and go ahead and fill this out. So we've got the template and we've got the guide here, and then over on the right, we've got the blanks. So what goes on the blank there is your target customer. And put the name of your company, and then go ahead and fill in all the blanks there. Take 2 minutes. We'll talk again in 2 minutes. Okay, I'm back. I'm sure that is an exercise that can take much longer than 2 minutes, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna keep what we have here, and then we are going to we're gonna refine this for the rest of the evening today, and we'll come back to it. So let's just hear from one or two people. Love to hear from everyone, but let's hear from just one or two people who can share what they put in their blanks. Is that Catherine still a hand up from before? Oh, there we are. Okay. Joshua, is that a hand up?
I haven't totally finished. I probably need a couple more seconds.
Okay. Let's go to Joshua. Let's go to Academy.
Chapel of Joy had their hand up, and I had put Catherine's down, and I think I accidentally did that.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Chapel of Joy. Can you tell us your name and also what did you put in your blanks?
All right. Hi. My name is Dr. Stella King. That's hi, David and Eric. So what I put in my blanks are for our clients, we at Choice Optical provide eye examinations and eyewear solutions that improve their vision at a budget-friendly price with an excellent customer service, unlike our competitors.
So, and I'm sorry, that's Dr. Sala King?
Yes, Stella King, yeah.
Sala King. Yes, and we met, yes? Did we meet last year?
Yes.
Yeah, great to be talking to you again, yes. So I'm gonna challenge you on that a little bit. I wouldn't say for your clients, that's pretty broad. I'm gonna challenge you to be thinking about this for the rest of the evening and narrow that down. Who are your clients? How can you describe who are these people? And then I think you said at a better cost than your competition. And what else did you say?
Excellent customer service.
Gotcha. Do you have a sustainable way of keeping your costs better than your competitors?
Yeah, because we go directly to the manufacturers.
Mm-hmm.
And we
Gotcha.
always, yeah, we get you know, a discount from them, or we do bulk buying and we get a discount off bulk buying.
Gotcha. Very good. Okay. Excellent. And let's hear. But so thank you for sharing. I challenge you to maybe think about over the next hour that target customer, and we'll talk about it again at the end. Let's see if we can get that refined down. And I'm glad you said excellent customer service. I was working with a company yesterday where we got pretty granular on that. So I want to hear from at least one other person, but I want to make sure we come back. In fact, Eric, could you put excellent customer service in the parking lot, please? Let's hear from one more. Joshua, how about you?
All right, so this is what I have so far. For small businesses and hospitality owners,
Okay.
we at Vivid Consultancy Group provide website care and digital advertising services that allow customers to focus on their businesses while we create exposure and effective channels for more sales with small monthly payments, unlike the competition that charges more upfront costs.
Gotcha. Excellent. Okay, so your target market is it hospitality owners?
Yeah, predominantly hospitality and small businesses.
Okay.
But I would say our niche is more in hospitality.
Gotcha. Excellent. And so you got competitors out there charging upfront costs, and you're allowing people to spread payments over time.
Correct.
Gotcha. Okay. Thanks for sharing. Very good. So I know all of us have things there. Let's kind of move forward now, and I want to, for whatever you've written down, let's start putting this through some filters. And I'm going to give you some challenges right now. You just wrote customer value proposition. A customer value proposition is not in and of itself a strategy, but it does form a critical element of the strategy. And so we really want to think through how does this play into how we're going to position ourselves? And then after we do this, we're going to start talking about how the market's been changing. I know that's one of the big topics of why we're here. So here's your first filter. And this is something that too many businesses get caught up in. I know my first business was a flight training business, and I thought, I got caught up in this. It won't work to benchmark your competitors and try to outcompete them by offering a little more for a little less. If you ever read the book E-Myth, that book is all about this. It's about, there's a myth. And what is the E-Myth? It's the entrepreneur's myth. What is that myth? It is that you can work a little harder and finally you'll get there, right? It turns out it's a myth because it's not possible. You will run out of days in the week and you will lose to your competitors who are embracing different strategies. So I think this is an ideal time in history with so much changing, industries that are going to be thriving, other industries falling apart. This is a time to really embrace the thinking like this. So if this is any element of what you're thinking about, I recommend maybe starting to rethink things. You're not going to work a little harder for a little less, offer a penny less than someone else, and get success. Here's the next filter. And I think this one, it's worth me reading word for word. This is from Vern Harnish in the book Rockefeller Habits. This is a fantastic business strategy book. This guy's a guru in helping businesses. He says you don't have a real strategy if it doesn't pass these two tests. That what you're planning to do really matters to your existing and potential customers. And second, it differentiates you from your competition. Add to this the requirement that you have the ability to become the best at implementing this strategy, and you have a clear idea whether you have a strategy or not that will work. You take those three phrases in bold text right there and really think, this is what is going to set you apart from either just constantly fighting over pennies with a competitor, or are you starting to compete in a space that creates a lot of value to your customers, to your clientele, in a way that they're going to really want to pay you for it, and in a way that's going to be long-term sustainable and successful. So I ask you, park that for now. Put what you just wrote on that page in exercise 2 in the workbook through that filter and start thinking about, am I meeting this? It's not to say that if you don't meet all this criteria, you can't be in business. You can, and I'd say 70, 80% of the small businesses in the world are, and they're violating these things right here, and they make a living and they feed their families. But for businesses to really thrive, to really become the best versions of themselves, to become to a place where the stress level goes down, the profit level goes up, and they're scaling and they're serving more and more people, having impact on more and more people. Not saying this is the only path, but this is definitely a path, and it's worked for thousands of businesses before. It can work for you. So let's now talk about how the market is changing. So we've kind of set where you think you're positioning yourself in the market. Let's move to the next step, is what in the world's going on in the market right now. And I know the market is drastically different today than it was in March. And so let's start kind of flushing that out, because we need to see where the market is and where we can meet it. So let's talk about that. Who can share? What are people buying right now? We know people are buying things. In Trinidad, there are still families and they're still eating, right? And it's possible they're eating less than they used to be, but they're eating. There are people still trying to raise their families, still going about lives. There are transactions happening. What are you seeing? What are people buying? What industries are flourishing? And because certainly all over the world, certain industries are flourishing, certain industries are not. But who can share? What are you seeing? Earl, go ahead.
This might sound funny. People are buying masks and hand sanitizers.
Absolutely, yes. That industry came out of nowhere, right? Yes.
Interestingly, there's a guy, my wife is a nurse, so she uses masks and face shields. she bought a face shield from a colleague for $40 TT. Which one was rather expensive because it's really a disposable face shield. You really need much of it. And I was on Facebook and I saw a guy in South Trinidad who was advertising face shields, only to find out that he's bringing in face shields wholesale, selling at a much cheaper price. So she was able to buy a whole stock of face shields, which she's going to tell her colleagues, which means one of her colleagues found out the guy was selling at that price, but we bought from him and began to resell to her other health colleagues at the hospital. So really and truly, and this guy has a whole set of stuff in a small space with a lot of necessary products for this for this season. It seems as if he was in another business, which kind of slowed down because of the COVID pandemic, and then he finds himself that he has made a shift.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
that's definitely an industry that came out of nowhere and is now there's a business. Let's go to Ria. Hi, Ria. How about you? Ria, you're on mute. You may need to unmute yourself. There you are.
Yeah. People are buying food stuff and clothes. Can you hear me now?
Go ahead and try again. A little hard to hear you.
Okay. Okay, people are buying food and pharmaceuticals because they are afraid. There's a great fear of getting the virus.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're seeing that's absolutely an area where things are starting to, things are changing. Absolutely. Let's go to Patrice and then Madonna.
Good evening. I think that three businesses that might be thriving would be couriers.
Yes.
That's delivery services for small businesses or even large businesses to get to people's homes, their products. People who are e-commerce service providers, website builders, social media marketing providers, and software subscription-based companies like QuickBooks, and I'm into editing, so we are now paying a monthly subscription for all of our services for that's software related.
Yep, absolutely. I've seen similar things in the United States. Thanks for sharing. Let's go to Madonna and then Catherine.
So Patrice shared one of the things I wanted to share, but people are buying, I would think, convenience, so that anybody who could deliver stuff to their homes and package it in ways that, they'll stay at home, they don't want to go out too much. So smaller packaging of items, convenience. So a number of the market produce are now being sold at the wayside. So a lot of vegetable sheds are popping up all over. So I would say convenience and smaller packaging. And safety.
Safety, yeah, absolutely. All right, so we're rolling here with some industries that are doing okay. Not everyone is falling apart. Let's go to Catherine, then Jonathan.
Yeah, what I saw that's popping up because of the online home-based schooling that's happening, a lot of laptops and tablets.
Yes.
Yeah, and home garden products, because persons are home, you find that persons are getting into, growing their own veggies, growing their own food, so home garden supplies and products as well.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Jonathan.
Yes, good evening. I was actually going to say the laptops and stuff, but apart from that, you would see a lot of janitorial businesses and sanitizing companies flourishing. Yeah. And even though if they were not operating before, you're seeing more companies getting into janitorial services.
Excellent. Absolutely. Yep. That's become paramount for so many
David,
businesses.
I want to make sure Dana had the mic unmuted, and I didn't know if didn't raise a hand and wanted to speak. Just want to double check there.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Dana. Did you have something?
You guys hearing me?
Loud and clear.
Yeah. Well, Jonathan kind of touched on one of the industries that I was aware of. A lot of janitorial services, and what you find happening is that it even creates an extra employment for companies who don't want to subcontract it. They're actually employing new employees just for that particular purpose to sanitize. So I think it opening up more domestic opportunities in that case.
Yes.
And next thing I saw that is kind of flourishing is like people who in the upper class, like doctors and so on, they're actually paying for personal babysitters to stay home with their children and that kind of thing.
Wow. Yes. Okay. Yeah, that's a great examples there. And then Catherine, is that a new hand or is that still up from before? I guess it's it's an old hand. It disappeared. So great examples. So I think we just heard numerous examples here of industries that are doing well. I don't know if flourishing is always the right word, but there are definitely industries that are working right now. Not at all to say that this is a good thing. I don't think it's a net swap where one for one and one industry went away, another one came back, and we're all in the same spot. There's definitely trouble in a lot of economies around the world. But the point we want to bring home here is we're entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs, what do? They look for problems out there and they create solutions and they bring them to the market. And there are still problems out there. There may be more problems right out there than there used to be. And entrepreneurs as a group are better positioned than anyone else on the planet to solve these needs. They can solve them faster than government can. They can solve them faster than any bureaucracy can. Entrepreneurs have a unique ability to get in there and make solutions happen very quickly. And there are industries where transactions are happening. There's industries that we can really play a role in. So let me show you, here are some industries that we've seen flourishing. And a lot of these are things that we heard people talking about already, just that you're seeing. This is a United States list, but like we heard, cleaning services. Here's an interesting one, is fitness equipment. Suddenly, home exercise equipment in the United States for sure, and I would bet in a lot of countries around the world, if you have a home exercise equipment company, you're probably doing pretty well right now. Because in some places, people aren't even allowed to go to the gym. And other places like the United States, we are allowed to go to the gym, just don't want to. So, I'm working out at home now much more often. Here's an interesting one, game makers and sellers. This was kind of surprised me at first, but then I realized, you know what? I've played a whole lot more games with my kids in the last few months than I used to. I've done more puzzles. I've played Monopoly and board games more often than I used to. And I'm not the only one. So suddenly we're noticing this huge shift in how things are changing around us. And so we want to think about, how do we categorize these? And I think, is there a hand up? Let's see. My system's telling me a hand is up, but I don't see it. Is that you, Dana? Do you have a hand up?
Yes, I do. I just really wanted to expound on the services, something that was kind of rare. I do offshore installation work as well. And one of the new services that came up was private transportation. They're not allowing us to come into contact with anyone. So a lot of transport companies actually expanding because of that. And private catering as well, because they're not allowing us to eat outside before we go on the rigs. So we actually had to go into 14 days quarantine to even go, just to go afford a job.
Right, absolutely. So
there's
an industry suddenly is doing business more than it was because of this. Absolutely. Thanks for sharing. And if you see on this chart, used car sellers, or what in the world is that doing here? Well, certainly in places with big cities, there are people either don't want to take the bus or aren't allowed to take the bus anymore. And so suddenly cheap used cars are becoming a thing. And so brokers of cars are now making more money and doing things they weren't doing before. So we've identified a lot of trends. Let's refine this one more bit, and then we're going to go to maybe how do we categorize these shifts. So we just talked about industries and products. Let's go a little deeper. Let's hit it from a different angle here. How are customers consuming different than they used to? I think we kind of partially answered that with the last question, but I think there's some more we could think about here. And then how are they researching the businesses that they want to buy from? How is that different than it was before March? And then how are customers interacting and talking about your company? How's that different than it was in March? Who's perceived any of these things and has some comments there they can share? Is that a new hand, Dana, or is that still up from before?
No, that's up from before, sir.
Yep, no problem. This is a little trickier to answer, but see if you can think through. How are people researching their businesses differently? The businesses they like to buy from. Let's go to Chapel of Joy.
Sarah.
Yeah, I think people are going more online to research and to find products, and they're going more online to know more about your business, and also online. I think everything right now has just shifted to, online space where they look at what products you have. So if you have products and you put it up online, you have a better chance of people coming into the store to look at that particular product rather than just keeping that product on your shelf and you're not, they'll just go elsewhere. So
Absolutely.
I think the shift right now is online.
Yeah, absolutely. I would completely agree. That's probably the biggest shift of them all, but absolutely that's happening. Thank you. Let's go to Brent.
Yes, I'm in agreement online, but also referrals, because my business has increased a lot through referrals.
Yeah. And when you say referrals now, as opposed to how is that different than before?
Well, persons, they would have shared with their friends and family members, so they are more or less advertising for me through their experiences, as compared to before. Yes, they would refer, but based on their experience and the value that they get, referring even more than usual.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So I would think, as we're thinking about, and why are we talking about this? We're talking about this because we want to start identifying where are our customers going? Where have they moved to? And how do we meet them there? And absolutely online is a big, big deal right now. And I think that's probably the number one shift for so many industries on the planet right now. It's not the only one though. I would think too, how people interact and talk about your business. Here's something interesting is I can speak for me personally. I spend a whole lot more time at home now. I work from home most days. I do travel and go certain places and meet clients. Fortunately, I'm in an area of the world where COVID cases are not that bad, an area of the United States where they're not that bad. So we are able to travel and meet people. But I'm still, even with that, I'm working from home so much more. So you know what? You know who I talk to the most often about products and services now? I talk to my wife. I hear from my kids. My mother lives not that far away. She comes over. I hear about the things that she's buying and the things that she likes. So, I'm not saying this happens for everyone, but more and more our family and our very close interactions it's a good thing. I think we have richer relationships with my neighbors living next door to me and my family, but I'm talking to them more. I'm hearing about the things that they like, the things that they don't like. I'm getting the information from them more than I ever did. Am I getting more things online? Absolutely. But I'm getting that nuclear nexus of people right near me. They're affecting so much more how I view different products and services around me. That can affect our marketing. That can affect how we reach out to people. Is realizing they're hearing about us in different ways. So let's start to now put a framework around this. And because not all these trends are the same. And so here's a space we can think about how trends change for us in our world. And so if we put them on this grid, I guess, of is it an existing trend or is it a new trend? You know, an existing trend would be it was happening already, and then it just got accelerated because of COVID, or is it a brand new thing that wasn't happening before COVID and now it's here because of COVID? And then on our x-axis, we can say, is this temporary or is this structural? Right? Structural being it's a new part of our world. Going forward into the future, it's part of what we do. Temporary being it's here for COVID and it's going to go away. So, you know, one example we see here, if I look at the top right in the catalyst category, is streaming platforms. The world was going towards streaming platforms already. Before COVID, Zoom existed and people were adopting Zoom rapidly. And the competitors of Zoom, right? So this is something that was already underway. It's part of our new world, it's part of our modern world. And then COVID happened, and I think the next 5 years of adoption that would have happened all in 2 or 3 months. And so that's a clear example to me of lasting acceleration that happened, is adopting streaming platforms. Let's go to the complete opposite here and talking about the games with my kids. You know, jigsaw puzzles. Right now, puzzles are hot. People are buying games, people are buying puzzles. I just talked to someone, a business I'm working with, they have a warehouse and they have someone who rented their warehouse out to store just thousands and thousands of video games in the warehouse starting this week to ramp up for Christmas because they expect that there'll be more puzzles sold than ever this Christmas. I don't know, maybe the world will be forever a puzzle making world, but I doubt it. This is probably, there was no trend toward puzzles before this, there is now, and it's probably temporary. So we call that a displacement. It's here, it's definitely a business opportunity, but it's probably got a sunset on it. It's probably not gonna be our new normal forever. So you can start to see, as you're looking at the trends going on in your business and your industry, you really wanna think through, how does this fall in this space? Is this a forever trend? Was this happening already? Is it going to be here, or is this just short term? If it's short term, I think I could still, I would think that I would put mask wearing. This is 100% a new trend. Is it temporary? Is it displacement, or is it innovation? I don't think we know that yet. When COVID ends, 2 years from now, will we just forget about masks and never wear them again? Or are we going to become like Asia, where in Asia before COVID, people wore masks? I went to Hong Kong 2 years ago before all this happened, and I'd say one out of every 10 people was wearing a mask. So we don't know. We don't know that yet. But that's certainly part of your planning as you're deciding how much to invest in a business, how much to spend on a CapEx, things like that, all critical items to start to filter out these changes in my business. Where are they sitting in this space? So I think this is a very valuable framework for us to try to understand that. So let me pause there before we go on, and we're going to get more specific now about your specific models. But any questions, comments, anything I'm not saying or should be saying or saying wrong, I guess? Okay. How are we doing with pacing? Here we are about halfway through our evening, maybe a little bit past halfway. How are we doing with pacing? Should we go faster, slower? How are we doing? Joshua, go ahead.
There's a thought that came to mind for something you said earlier, in that to get out of the myth of giving more for less and just thinking you will be able to overcome by that. Right. I don't know if it's something you can answer, maybe part, but how do you bridge that gap between providing more value at a premium, because for you to add more value at some point, you really got to cover your costs at a time where everyone is penny pinching. Right. Where do you think you're able to bridge that gap? Because obviously, if you could provide at a premium level and real value, it allows you to really focus, and that's better for both you and the client. But where do you think you're able to bridge that gap?
So that's an excellent question. And I'm going to propose that we put it in the parking lot, because we're going to do an exercise in a couple of minutes that I think is going to shed some light on that. So is it okay? Can we run through this next exercise and then we can come back to that? And if we haven't answered it properly, then we'll dive into it. Could we do that?
Sure.
Great. Excellent. So let's now talk about, you know, how some more shifts here. And here's an example I want to show you of a change that's happened that's probably going to be temporary. I'm saying properly, this is David's opinion. I could be wrong, I don't know. But there's a restaurant in the United States called Chick-fil-A. If you ever get a chance to go, if you're ever in the United States, it's really good. And they serve chicken. And it's fast food. You drive up, you get your meal quickly, you eat there, you take it home, you're done. And they recognized in April that, hang on, people can't go to restaurants and they might like to. So all of a sudden there was this boom of what we call meal kits, where people were offering a kit, all the ingredients you need, either cooked or raw, but that's essentially something that you can take home. You can take a few minutes, you cook it or you put it together, and you've got a nice restaurant quality meal there in your home, ready to go in response to COVID. Chick-fil-A did this. And you'll notice here that there's another organization called Blue Apron. My wife and I were customers of Blue Apron for a while. They give you raw ingredients, and I mean, it was really good meals. All the ingredients are properly measured, and you know, they mail them to your house. Don't even have to leave. Here's at least one opinion that came out. When was this? March. So end of March, and suddenly Blue Apron started doing pretty well. And this person, at least, was saying, hey, the feasting in Blue Apron stock will soon turn to famine. Blue Apron did wonderfully when COVID started. But I think we're going to see here again soon. I'll show you the stock prices, but his assessment was this was a temporary shift. So maybe it was good to recognize that, hey, maybe I shouldn't dump all my money into a company like Blue Apron because this is a very temporary shift. If we look at their stock price, since then, you can see so far this seems to have played out. And I don't know if you can see my mouse, but up until COVID, this company was just dropping drastically. They had a huge boost when COVID hit. And then ever since then, their stock price has been cut almost in half, almost back down to where they were before COVID. So we can see that this is, as grocery stores have opened up, people have opened up, this is an example, I would say, of a very temporary thing in the market. So let's talk about your model now. I want to show you some examples of ways that we can maybe start to distill your model and plan this out. Has anyone heard of an organization called Cirque du Soleil? If anybody's heard of it, can you tell us, what do they do?
The last time I heard of this company, I had a nephew that was into circus, and he was into entertainment and so on. And he was interested in going deeper into training and getting into that kind of entertainment. That's if it's the same company.
Yes, it easily could be. Yes. So this is an organization which today has formed a global brand, and they did something pretty unique that no one else had quite done like they did. And so we want a framework for mapping out what did they do versus everyone else, and maybe what's the recipe to success, because they grew from an American company to a global company. And today you can see Cirque du Soleil shows all over the world. There's a strategy canvas, which is a framework that you're going to fill out on your business here in just a bit. This is one of the exercises you're going to do a first pass on today, but this is something that definitely can be expanded into multiple hours. So if we think of what are the factors and the possible future factors that affect competition among the industry players, I want to show you a Cirque du Soleil example, but we don't care to study them. We're here for you. But let me just show you what they did. Is Ringling Brothers and Barnum Bailey Circus. You know, here's all the features across here, all the features of circuses. And you know, the price, the performers, the animals, do they sell concessions in the aisles? You know, is it dangerous and thrilling? There's all the features out there. And I know if you may not be familiar with Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey, that's pretty much an American group. But if you've seen the movie The Greatest Showman, the main character there, that's P.T. Barnum. That's the guy who's one of the founders of this eventual organization. So that probably gives you some context there. But you can see they were low price. They had some star performers that attracted people, that they had animals, they had elephants, they had tigers, you know, all sorts of exotic animals. Aisle concessions, people are selling peanuts and, you know, lights for the kids in the aisles and things like that. And then Cirque du Soleil came along, and you can see, before I talk about them, here's all the competitors. All the competitors, and on this scale between low and high, high being this really affected competition, or the organization was really strong in this area. All the competitors pretty much did what Ringling Brothers and Barnum Bailey did, and they just did a little less, right? You just look at the shape of this curve. It's just the same shape. It's just a little bit less. They didn't have the big brand name. They couldn't charge as much. They couldn't get as many tigers and lions, I guess, because they weren't as big. So it was a little bit less value, but they made money. They operated their business, but none of them ever got really successful. Cirque du Soleil came along and said, hang on, is there something else out there that is meaningful to the clients that we can deliver? And so they offer a show. It's a high price show. There are no star performers. There's no animals. There's no aisle concessions. There's still the fun, the humor, the dangerous things, the thrilling things, but they added some things. Look at this. They made a themed show. They did a hybrid of a circus and a Broadway show. So if you think about the famous Broadway shows that you hear about that still travel around the world, they made a theme to it. They made a Broadway show that was a circus. And it became an unbelievable success. What we say, this is actually directly from the book, Blue Ocean Strategy. They essentially carved out a new way to compete. And they carved out and found a space that no one else was competing in that turns out customers really wanted and really valued. So I know in the interest of time, I want to make sure we get to do all of our exercises here. So I'm going to show you quickly. There's another company called Southwest Airlines. This is an American company. They do have flights all over the Caribbean now. But as long as you know how an airline works, I think this is going to make sense to you. Here's their strategy canvas. Now, the average airlines, they had moderate prices, they had lounge, they had first class seats, they had hubs, they were a hub and spoke network. The flight attendants were kind of friendly, but not really, depending on which airline it was. And Southwest came along, and actually this is all the airlines. All the airlines, they were exactly the same. And if you looked at how they operated, they just fought over routes, over dollars. Like they literally would have just monumental battles, and they would lower their prices, and you could shop, and all the fares for city pairs were within a few dollars of each other, and they were killing each other. They were all losing money. And then Southwest Airlines comes along and says, we're going to offer something different. We're not going to do just what these do and just do a little harder or offer a little more for a little less. We think there's a need somewhere else. And they said, hang on, car transportation, that is another way people travel. How can we develop an offering that gives a little bit of the benefits of car transportation and a little bit of the benefits of the airlines? They said it's going to be low price. There'll be no meals. There's no lounges. There's no first class seats. There's no hubs. But we're going to be friendly. And we're going to have frequent point-to-point departures that no one else has. And this is going to allow for people who really need to go from one city to another city. They're going to get there fast because they don't have to go through a hub city. Turns out there were several years in the United States where no airlines made any profit except Southwest Airlines. They figured out a way to offer something different. They didn't just think, I'm going to be an airline. How do I work harder? How do I do what everyone else did? They thought outside the box. They created a saliently different model. When you look at their website, it's not readily evident if they look like any other airline, but there's a drastically different way. And if you fly with them, you'll know pretty fast. Their flight attendants are very friendly. They tell jokes. It's a completely different experience than almost any other airline out there. So what we want to do, let's turn this to you. So what you're going to do now, you've got in your workbook a list of industry factors. What are the industry factors that your industry competes on today? You'll list them on the x-axis, but for now, just go ahead and write them down. Write them down in the workbook there. I'm going to give you 2 minutes. Write down the factors that your industry currently competes on. I'll be quiet. I'll be back in 2 minutes. Okay, I'm back. I'm going to interrupt just for a few seconds. This isn't here on the chart that you see, but it is in your workbook. Go ahead now and fill out the next few blanks. What factors could or should your industry compete on? If you just, I'm going to back up just a bit. Notice for both of these examples, Southwest Airlines added a feature that the other airlines didn't have. Cirque du Soleil added 3 features the other folks didn't have. What are features that you could offer that are meaningful to your customers that they will care about, that your industry could compete on, that you could introduce maybe? Okay, I'm back. Let's pause there, and I'm going to show you the next steps, and we're going to leave this for you to do. Oh, sorry, there's a timer for me to come back. So I'm going to leave this for you to do between the end of our session today and tomorrow. Hopefully at this point, you've got some industry factors mapped out. And hopefully you've also thought of some industry factors that don't even exist yet that might be something that has value to your customer. Remember the definition we gave in the beginning from Vern Harnish. Does it have meaning to your customers? Do they care? Right? So if you've figured out that you can be very unique because you are a pizza delivery company that also offers paper clips, I would say yes, that is incredibly unique. You're probably the only pizza company in the world. Have you found something that has meaning to your customers? I'd say probably not. Probably not a good idea. So, right, are these good things that have meaning to your customers? Between now and we talk tomorrow, want you to reflect and get a blank sheet of paper, map out where your competitors are, map out maybe even where some competing industries are, right? Because Southwest had all the airlines all in one line. They thought of, hey, what's the alternative? If people don't fly, what else can they do? They can drive a car. Especially, I know it's different in the Caribbean, you got islands, you can't drive everywhere, but in the United States, this is a viable other option. And so go ahead and map out an alternative industry, and then map out where you are. And if where you are is just right on top of everyone else, you might want to think about this. Not you might want to, please think about it. And then think about how else can you add some extra features onto the end. So that's part of your homework for tonight. Let's now just frame this up a little bit more. So based on what you are going to come away with, you're going to have a definition of what are the products and services I offer and how do they meet these features that are in my market, that my market's competing into. And then you really want to think about what is that market I'm selling into. You know, for Cirque du Soleil, were they a circus company? I don't think anyone thinks of them as a circus company anymore. They have acrobats, they have performers, they've got trapeze, they've got clowns, but people don't think of them as a circus company. It's a completely different type of entertainment. And then in order to get those extra features that you think your customers need, that maybe popped up, maybe those extra features weren't valuable to people 6 months ago or 9 months ago, but now they are. Do I need a new product or service in order to hit this? And do I need to open up a new market to sell into? And then most importantly, does my value curve represent a unique offering? If I'm doing just what everyone else does, I'm in for a bloody battle that's not going to lead to anyone winning. One more way to frame this up, whatever you come up with, just think through the risk level. So if you're going to start selling into the market you're already in, so this will be present market and present product. That'd be this green area right here. That's the lowest risk. You're doing something you already know how to do, maybe something you already know how to do very well. So ideally finding places in this green box is the best place to be. You have the best chance of success of execution. But what if it's the same product in a new market? Maybe that has got more risk, but that might be another place to look. Similarly, maybe it's the same market. This is actually a better place to be. It's the same market. It's your customers who already know you, your distribution networks you already have, but you can sell more products to those same people, right? So if in defining your strategy canvas, finding new areas of the market, you're able to figure out, hey, wait, there's some extra things these people need now they didn't need before, and they're very complementary of what I do, and I can do them very well, that you'd be there. If you're going to go to a brand new market with a brand new product, this is very high risk. I'm not saying because it's high risk, don't do it. Just we want to make sure we do it with our eyes open, make sure we plan accordingly. High risk is high risk of failure, high risk of getting into something we don't know how to do very well. So if your value curve from your strategy canvas exercise ends up, it gets you in a brand new market and a brand new product, think twice about it. And if it's still incredibly compelling, I'm not saying don't do it. There's so many people have done this and been successful, but so many more have done this and not been successful. So there's one more framework to put this through before you can really, you're ready to execute. So I'm watching the time here, and I want to make sure we get to one more thing here where I think this is going to be kind of the final thing to take us home. And I think this is going to be something that's really going to start helping you flush out your product offering. So in the value builder system, we've identified 8 drivers of value. We'll talk about one of them right here, which is growth potential. And so once you figure out, hey, now I figured out where my market is, and I figured out my product offering, and I figured out how to tweak my product offering to hit a better part of my market in a way that no one else is doing. It's something more, maybe more compelling or a better differentiation. What are my product offerings going to be to hit this market? What's that going to look like? So here's a framework that you can use. We're going to do this exercise right now to rank your offerings. And we think of the growth trifecta. Every offering we have, is it teachable? Is it valuable to the customer? And is it repeatable? So let me give you an example. I'm going to run you through an example right now, and then you're going to do your own. But let's think about, here's our example is a photography company. It's a small business. They take pictures for people. And there's different products or services. Every business can break down the types of services they offer, the products they sell, and really think through each one. So they thought about, hey, weddings. How teachable is this? How valuable is it? How repeatable is it? Well, turns out if we would rank this on a scale of 1 to 10, or let's say 0 to 9, turns out it's relatively teachable. You can hire photographers because think about it, if you're the one taking all the pictures and that's it, you don't hire anyone else, you don't really have a business, you have a job. And you get a business when you start hiring people and building out a team and building value beyond yourself. So you could, in your photography business, hire other photographers and you could teach them how to photograph weddings. Not super easy, but doable. Is it valuable to the customer? Absolutely. In fact, I think for every culture in the world, wedding photographs are probably the most valuable and meaningful photographs of our lives. So incredibly valuable to the customer. Is it repeatable? Hopefully not. We know that that's not always the case, but even for people who have repeat marriages, this is not something they do all the time, right? This is hopefully once in their life, maybe twice in their life. It's very, very much not repeatable. If we take our scores across the row here and we sum them up, we get a 16. Let's look at some other offerings. Baseball teams, you could photograph baseball teams. Turns out it's very teachable. It's easy. You know, the kid stands there with their bat and their baseball glove, you take a picture, right? There's not much to it. I could do it, and I'm not even a photographer. And so this is very teachable. Is it valuable? Sure, right? But not near, it's not even close to the same category as a wedding photograph, but parents like to see their kids involved in sports and take pictures. Is it repeatable? It sure is. It's very repeatable. The kid, I know at least where I live, my kids are in baseball and we have 2 seasons a year. So every year, twice a year, we're getting pictures taken, you know, and we're watching them grow. I can sum this up, I get a 21. Let's run through some others. There's corporate events. Corporate events, not so teachable. They're tough to teach, very specific. How do you get the angle? How do you get the people together? How do you make sure it's appropriate? It's pretty valuable. Corporations like to have photographs of their event and share them on their websites and things like that. And it's repeatable. So if I sum, not as repeatable as baseball teams, but more repeatable than weddings. So I can sum those up, I get an 18. And look at this last offer here. School photos. It's very teachable. The kid comes, they sit down, they smile, you take the picture. It's the same pose every time for every kid. It's easy to do. Is it valuable? Absolutely. I don't know what it's like in Trinidad, but I know in the United States, I know my wife, she will not let me pass up the school photo. It will be taken or I will be in trouble. This is incredibly valuable to her and me as well, but it's valuable. Is it repeatable? Absolutely. Every year, the kids come back, they go to school again, they get our school photo. We sum up these, we get a 27. This is a real example of a business that was a photography business. You know what they did? They did this exercise. And they said, we're not going to do weddings anymore. We're not going to do baseball teams anymore. We're not going to do corporate events. We're going to only do school photos. We're going to be a school photo company. And that allowed them to scale incredibly because they had photographers who were just amazing at school photos. Their marketing was all to schools. And they had repeat customers where they could all have follow-up offerings. They knew to market to them every year at a certain time. And they became much, much more scalable and grew much faster than they ever could have. And if someone called them for a wedding, you know what they'd say? They'd say, we don't do that, but maybe here's someone who could. And you might think that's crazy because you might be thinking in your mind, how in the world would I turn down a wedding? Because a wedding is very lucrative. And it might seem like you're making more money or losing money by turning down the wedding, but actually often you're not. Maybe you missed that money that weekend because you didn't photograph that wedding. But what you really did is you had a huge opportunity cost because you weren't refining your business into a scalable business that was taking all sorts of school photos with photographers that aren't you who are out there taking pictures and scaling the business. So essentially, if you look here they put it on this framework of valuable, teachable. Right away, they said weddings, they don't repeat. We scratch them off the list. And you want anything that shows up here in the top right, this is the ideal offering for you to have for your business. Let me give you another example. And I want to make sure you get a chance to do this exercise before we close out. So let me give you another example. Here is an accounting firm. They offered corporate finance, technology consulting, audits, payroll, daily deposits, reconciling bank accounts, monthly financial statements. And notice they had some things here that were very valuable and not teachable. I know this personally. Eric and I, we do a lot of corporate finance. It's valuable to clients. It's not that easy for us to teach others to do it. We're trying, but it's tough. And then they offered all these other things down here that were not so valuable to companies. They're kind of commodities to companies, but they're pretty teachable. I can hire someone to do payroll. I can hire someone to reconcile bank accounts. So what this company did is they said, hey, we don't have anything up here. There's nothing in the top right up here. What do we do? How do we move our company from this not scalable offering to something that is way more scalable? And what they did is they did a bundling exercise. They said, hang on, let's offer BOSS. This is a real story, real company. It's called Back Office Support System. Let's take all these low value but teachable things. Let's bundle them together into something that does have value to a business owner. And they moved all the things from down here up to here, and they sold this as one thing. They didn't say we'll sell you payroll, or we'll sell you reconcile your bank statements. They said we'll handle all your back office, everything you need for your business. We'll sell you that, and it just includes all these little things. Wildly successful, help them scale, be very successful. One more. Here's a company that sold shoes. They sold gel insoles. They sold some shirts. There's running shoes, so athletic shoes, things like that. The guy who owned this business was a runner, and he had things. He was making decent money. He's feeding his family, but really just always just kind of barely getting, not really getting ahead, just kind of getting to the next day. Very teachable. He can sell these things. He can teach people how to sell these things, but just not that valuable. And why do I say not that valuable? Is the shoe valuable? Sure, but his customers can go to any other competitor and buy the same shoe. Why do they come to him? Well, what he did is he said, I've got a product. I'm nothing more than a reseller. That's all I do. How do I create value? He started making running clinics. He offered a clinic for runners because his clientele was runners, where he was offering an education as an experience of learning. How do you pick a shoe? How do you run better? How do your shoes factor into your performance, right? Suddenly he had something very valuable that he was offering his clientele. It was still teachable. He could teach his employees how to run these clinics. And guess what? When people came to the clinics, they saw them as the experts. Guess where they bought their shoes? Right there. So I've just given you 3 examples here. I want to make sure you get a chance to run through this example before we close out here. This is an exercise also in your workbook. Go ahead and take this is going to take a little longer, so we're going to take, we'll take 5 minutes, and then we'll kind of debrief and close out the night. Go ahead and list all the products and services that your business offers. Then once you get them listed, go through each of these things in a scale of 0 to 9, rank it. How teachable is it? Meaning how easy is it for you to teach one of your employees to perform it well? Valuable, how valuable is it to your customers? Repeatable means how often will your customers repeat buy this thing? Go ahead and take 5 minutes, fill it out, and then we'll talk. Go ahead and take another half minute and then we'll talk. All right, so hopefully at this point, you've got now your products listed and you've got them ranked. I know that was a compressed time. You may only have a few of your products listed, but hopefully what we've done here is at least given you a good kickoff to being able to complete these exercises. Let's just jump to what we're going to do next. So tomorrow, we're going to, as we wind down here the next few minutes, we're going to debrief, and we're going to make sure we just go over our takeaways and things to work on between now and when we meet tomorrow. We're going to kick off the day hearing your reflections on how did it go, meeting with your team, your spouse, whoever's critical in your life to your business, and sharing these things with them, getting their opinions on them, what happens when you sleep on these things. We're going to kick off that, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to talk about another driver here, which is recurring revenue. That's going to be another thing that we'll talk about that will help you maybe distill which offerings to offer, which offerings not. So that's going to be a really good one. And then we're going to get into a little bit about crisis management, cash management, and then finally tomorrow, toward the end of the day, what we'll do is we'll send you off with a strategy for putting goals and what we call SMART goals and actions to everything that we're talking about here. So let's talk first about the things that we'd like to send you away with for today. Number one is the strategy canvas. Please finish that before we meet again tomorrow. You got a time to kick that off. We purposely broke this session up into two 2-hour sessions instead of one 4-hour session. 2 reasons. One is it's really tough for everyone to stay engaged online for 4 hours. That's a long time. So by breaking this up, I think it helps us all. And then also because we have 2 sessions, you've got some time in between to do some thought work. That will be very valuable when we come back. So please finish out that strategy canvas. Again, you can do it alone, do it with your spouse, do it with your business partner. And then redo your unique selling proposition. I'm not saying it has to be different, but after everything we've talked about, would you put the exact same thing in those blanks, or would you put something different? Don't answer that now. Think about that tonight. Love to hear tomorrow what your feedback is on that, where you arrived on those things. Some of you will say, yep, I'm right where I was. That's fine. That's okay. Others will say, no, you know what? I thought about it. I need to tweak some of these things. I need to refine who my target customer is. I need to refine the benefit of using my product or service. I don't have it refined enough. I don't fully understand it. I don't think my customers understand it, right? And so those are the things we'll come back with tomorrow. So before we close down, let's first talk about, Eric, are there things in the parking lot that we need to discuss?
Well, we had the excellent customer service.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of along that lines, David, is just a little quick blurb that I think we should talk about very quickly about the Net Promoter Score. I know we don't cover that.
Yes.
I think it's something that relates back to the value builder system. And so I think those 2 things go hand in hand.
Yeah. So I just want to give a quick word on excellent customer service, because just yesterday I was working with a company. They took a lot of time last year, built out a mission statement. And part of their mission statement was with excellent customer service. And it sounds great. And they fully meant it when they wrote it. A year later, I was talking with them and saying, what does that mean? What does excellent customer service look like? And it turns out everyone had a lot of thoughts, but no one had thought about it before. They had just all said, we do great customer service. So now they're taking it to the next level. They're refining it to saying, what does excellent customer service look like? Oh, and so we're now working with them to define these things. We're saying it means that a customer needs to be greeted when they walk in the store within 30 seconds. It means that our current process of checking out a customer, as in, actually ringing up the billing, having them pay for it, it takes 5 minutes today. That's not good customer service. We need to get that down to 2 minutes. Also, when these customers go into the warehouses are dirty. That's not good customer service. When there's a product that the customer wants, it takes the store employees a few minutes to find the product because they don't know exactly where it is. That's not good customer service. Or those are all things that affect the customer experience. So we're now doing a deep dive exercise with this group to really understand, okay, yeah, we're going to do good customer service, but what does that mean? What does that look like? What are the measurable metrics that we can put around that we need to work toward to create the customer experience that really lets us say we have lived our mission statement, we are living it. So I know, I forgot who brought that up earlier in the day, but I wanted to just kind of give those details. I thought that was pretty valuable, and as a real-time example of the company we're doing right now. And then, like Eric talked about, Net Promoter Score. So we showed you, I guess, one of the value drivers today. One was growth potential. That's the last exercise you just did. The next is recurring revenue. We'll talk about that a little bit more tomorrow. And there's another one, which is looking at your customer satisfaction. So there's a thing called a Net Promoter Score, not made by us. I wish we had made it, but it is an amazing framework for helping your customers let you know. Pretty honestly, it's probably got better success than almost any survey out there. It's letting your customers let you know how well are you delivering on that excellent customer service. You think you're delivering excellent customer service. Are you really? I think you know that best when your customers tell you if you are or not. And more often than not, there's some surprises in there, and we learn some things that we can tweak and really improve our customer service. So there's a thing called a Net Promoter Score that I highly recommend you look into for that. Part of the Value Builder system, if that's something of interest to you learning more in, of a Net Promoter Score survey is included in the Value Builder system. So anybody who works with us or works with NCB, running through the Value Builder program, that is one of the modules that's there, and it's not any extra cost. It's included in the program, is running a Net Promoter Score survey for your customers. And it's pretty enlightening. So I think that's something, you certainly Google it, learn about it. And so we're here now at the end of our time together. Let's just take a couple minutes, because I've been talking for way too long without hearing from anybody. Could at least just 2 or 3 people chime in? We're finishing up day 1 now. What's the biggest aha? What came to you today? Maybe what's the aha that you think is the biggest takeaway from what we discussed today?
Hi, David.
Joshua, go ahead.
Yeah, I think for me, my greatest aha taken away from today is, how do I pivot my service in a way that is really getting towards person's pain points? It's interesting that, a lot of times you say it, I think you do it, but for the last, couple of years, I've been so focused on the product that I'm providing, or the service I'm providing, and didn't really look from the context of how much is this service fixing the customer's problem. And I think the example with the boss really hits home to me, because it's like I have a lot of these modular type services. You could get this or you could get that one.
Yes.
Can you afford that one? Okay, if you can't afford that one, take this one or take that one.
Right.
And at the end of the day, when I look at all that, many of these things don't work well without each other. You know, it's like, if you, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, that's what you could afford, pay for that little piece. But then even though they pay for that, they're still left with like half of the solution, and they're going away with just not having the problem solved. And you feel, well, yeah, I give you at least piece of the solution. So I think that really allows me to take a step back and recognize, where could I find a way of offering a real solution to someone?
Yes.
With
Sounds
what
like you
they're
may have a
offering.
good candidate for bundling. That your products and services may be a great bundling candidate there. Great, thanks for sharing. And I see there were two Joshuas up at the top of my list. Did both of them have their hands up? Is that Joshua De Silva? Was Joshua De Silva, was that you, or is that the other Joshua?
No, that was a separate Joshua.
Oh, okay. All right, Joshua, you want to go ahead?
Hi, are you hearing me?
Yes.
You hear me?
Yep.
Hi, sorry, I forgot to change the name on it. It's really Melina. Joshua is my son. He used my laptop for online school, so that's what you hear. So sorry about that. For me, it's more or less what he just said. It's amazing that he listed the same points, because I am a beautician, as well as I sell beauty products, all natural beauty products, no chemicals, no preservatives. It's strictly all natural. And when you made the point about the boss, I literally put down, what can I bundle together to offer just like boss?
Yes.
It's not necessary. So the aha moment for me was not necessarily to create more things, but packaging what I have in a particular way so that it can be one more affordable. So I'm thinking of reducing some of these sizes so that those who can't afford the full size, they could probably get it in a smaller size, but in the full package, so that they're not losing out on, just as he said, taking 2 items instead of 4. So that really, that was an aha moment for me in terms of trying to source these containers for my products to better be able to serve both sides of my clientele. Those that will be able to pay for the full size, as well as those that will be able to pay for half the amount.
Yes. Fantastic. Thanks for sharing. And you know what's funny is, as we were putting this presentation together, I thought to myself, we have so much content here. How in the world are we going to get into 2 hours? I might need to cut something. Maybe I should take out boss. I'm so glad that I did not. Sounds like that was one of the better examples. So great to hear. Okay, so we need to wrap up just in a minute. Anyone have anything else? Any other ahas that they want to share before we go?
I would like to share here.
Yes.
Hi, this is Ria.
Hey, Ria.
Okay, so hi. My husband and I are in the process of inheriting my family business. My father, his brothers, my grandfather, all in business. And I think the aha moment for me today was realizing that the business that we have did well up until COVID-19. But we now need to re-strategize. We now need to we need to go to the drawing board and find out what aspects of our sales and services, what aspects of what we offer what aspects are no longer viable, and what aspects we can modify to go to take us into the into the future.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing. That's wonderful. Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
And I think Catherine, you had your hand up. How about you take the final word? Go ahead, Catherine. You might need to unmute, Catherine.
Yeah, sorry about that. So many aha moments But when the question or the exercise in writing the value proposition, I was challenged there because as you ask the questions, I realized that our operation, I mean, I know that, but when we take time to reflect and answer the way in which the questions are asked, we realize that we have hidden values, you know, and we're not focusing on them. So when you ask the question about the value proposition, which I always struggle with, I realize that I'm answering from a product. I have to answer or have to offer from a product and a service point of view, because we manufacture a product, but we also offer a service to the supermarkets where distribution is concerned. So two different customer types there. So I have to be able to marry that value, catering to the consumer and catering to the wholesaler, which is the supermarket. So that is something I have to do a little homework on and fine tune that. So that will drive the strategies or the responses to get the value that's out there or the opportunities that's out there for us. Now, when I was also looking at the product services, whether it's teachable, valuable, repeatable, that too, when I started drilling down on that template now, I realized that I need to be putting more focus into, because we have some new products. Say, for example, the waffles, right? We started making a waffle to complement with ice cream. But as we watching buying patterns and stuff is changing now, that is now a breakfast item. If packaged differently, we don't really have to look at it from a dessert point of view. We can look at it now from a breakfast item point of view. So yeah, so that was aha there for me. This worksheet here, with the product service, looking at ranking, what is, if it's easily teachable, what's the value, and if it's easily repeatable, or it's being repeated based on turnover. Right. So I have a lot of work there to do, and it will help me to focus on the areas that are, you know, calculated higher on the end.
Wonderful, great to hear. And I know, Catherine, you have a brand as well, and you know, the brand is more than a product; it's an experience that are feeling your customers have when they have that brand. So, thanks so much for sharing. That's wonderful. Well, folks, we're out of time for day one, so I'm going to turn it back over to Lottie. See if Lottie has any parting words, and then we'll go our separate ways and reconvene tomorrow. So, Lottie, over to you.
Yes, well, I would say that the parting words really should come from the participants, and I'm very grateful that from what I'm hearing, this has been very, very useful, very valuable. I know that questions were not asked, or you didn't have time to ask any questions. Just in case any of you has any questions for David or Eric, please contact me, you know, so I will put forward. David, Eric, is that okay? In case they have any questions that I can forward to you, perhaps even before the session tomorrow.
Absolutely, we can work them in tomorrow. And in fact, we'll kick off tomorrow with a discussion on reflections on what people thought, you know, overnight. So yes, absolutely. Please feel free to do that.
Okay, great. So thank you so much, David. So we are looking to round up now. We really tried as much as possible to keep to time, because we value that you are entrepreneurs and you have quite a lot to do. I want to say one final thing, David. As far as from where I stand, I would think that there's one thing that has resonated with me, which is in terms of, again, really value proposition is something, like you said, that we're very familiar with, but it's what we have the greatest struggle with, small business, right? And just the way that you have taken to explain it, it really is a challenge for all of us here, right? What I have noticed is that many times as small business owners, we are very great with what matters to our customers. We put out what matters to our customers, especially, I'm very sorry to say, if you're a member of the NCB. So you put out what's valuable. We also put out, you know, perhaps what we are very good at, but sometimes with the differentiation, we have a problem, right? So, you know, it's like a three-legged stool, right? So we are strong on one, and if we're just strong on one and we are kind of balancing with the other two, you know, we are not going to be stable. So I really would want to see how you all are able to work with that. You know, this criteria for value proposition, I really want to say that as my last word. You know, hold on to it, every single one of us. Let's see how we can use these three criteria to come out with very, very great value propositions, because that's where it all starts from. David, thank you so much for starting from that part about purpose, because for me, without purpose, abuse is inevitable, you know, and our business will go through a lot of problems. So I believe that this has been quite helpful. So I will also give room for Louisa if you have any last words, any final thoughts, Louisa, before we close.
Always say, if you really like the seminar and if you really want to honor our speakers, please go back to your business and practice. Because no matter if you're attending Harvard, if you're going to all the seminars, if you're going all the time to trainings and you don't apply what you're learning, you're not honoring your time, you're not honoring yourself, and you're not honoring the time of the speaker. So please, please, please study tonight, go back to the drawing board and just take everything you learned today and apply it to your business so we can grow together. That's
Amen.
my final words.
Absolutely. Well, bye-bye, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for coming. See you tomorrow.
Bye.
All right. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Thank you
Bye-bye.
very much, David.
Thank you.
Bye.